Hello, and welcome to this campaign overview of Hellbreakers. In this video, I want to provide you with a general plot overview of this adventure path, the good and the not so good it offers, and give you a few pointers on how to prepare this story of revolution and liberation. This video is for all GMs who are thinking about running Hellbreakers, but would like a little bit more information before actually committing to it. While I share some of my own opinions, this video is not a full review or a scene-by-scene guide to the entire AP. Needless to say, this video is filled to the brim with spoilers. If you are currently playing in a Hellbreakers campaign, or will be a player in one soon, stop this video now and go check out some other videos on my channel that are not related to any adventure path you are currently in. Without further ado, let's dive into Hellbreakers. In 4725 AR, the Battle of Hell Knight Hill in Isger marked a great loss for Chelaxian and sparked the beginning of revolution in the vassal state. Led by Alceo and Phoebe Demetrius, a new revolutionary group known as the Hellbreakers is slowly growing. The player characters are new recruits of the Hellbreakers and start the adventure by helping the cause grow and gather support. The PC's first task is to escort a survivor of the Battle of Hell Knight Hill from Breachill to Sarangello. On their journey, the adventurers learn how divided Isger still is on the matter of liberation. While many wish for independence, Chelaxian still has its grip on other citizens who are willing to rat out any dissidents for a meager reward. Once they are in Sarangello, the PCs further help proving their worth to the cause by investigating the disappearance of a Hellbreaker and later saving one of their superiors from capture by Chelaxian forces. They also learn that someone is planning their revenge against the Hellbreakers. Setting out from Sarangello, the heroes travel through Isger to gather more support for the Hellbreakers, while simultaneously helping the people of the troubled nation. These travels sent them to places like the Chelaxian-loyal Vordia, the artist settlement of Stumpfield, and even into the fire-fearing gnome town of Umok. During their journeys, the heroes also learn more about the person trying to take vengeance on the Hellbreakers. Vyro Ahala, a Hell Knight survivor of the Battle of Hell Knight Hill, is working with a group of Asmodeus-worshipping priestesses to enact a ritual that will summon a powerful devil to Isger. With it, he plans to destroy the Hellbreakers and show the people of Isger that rebellion against her infernal magistrix is futile. The heroes find leads to the location of Vyro and the priestesses, leading them deep into the Chitterwood. Here, they gain the support of the goblin village of Thorngrip after helping them deal with cruel goblin hunters. Ahala and his allies are located within a cave, and the heroes face off against the Hell Knight to stop the ritual. They succeed, and make sure Isger is not plagued by any additional infernal horrors. The deeds the PCs have performed in and around Sarangello have reached the ears of the leaders of the Hellbreakers in the Isgeri capital of Elodier. Alceo and Phoebe ask the heroes to travel there to help them make a deal with the halfling trader Quaster. Quaster is willing to help the Hellbreakers, but is spooked by the actions the steward of Isger, Hedvund VI, is taking against anyone who sympathizes with the rebels. He is willing to parlay if the Hellbreakers can meet him at a gala hosted by Hedvund, for which the PCs need to forge invitations and, of course, acquire fitting attire. After gaining access to the steward's gala, the PCs need to overcome the dangers posed by Isgeri and Chelaxian high society. However, the fancy dinner affair is interrupted by a group of pretender Hellbreakers who try to murder the guests at the gala. The PCs fight off the fake Hellbreakers, but cannot save everyone. Steward Hedvund VI is killed. Kato Vula Unix, Hell Knight commander, takes control of the chaos and recruits the PCs to help him investigate the death of the steward. Being a potential ally to the true Hellbreakers, the heroes decide to aid the Hell Knight and find out who is behind this attack. It turns out that Hedvund is not dead, but rather undead. The fake Hellbreakers were a distraction orchestrated by agents of a cult of Urgathoa, Trying to utilize the growing tensions in Isger for their own goals, the cult had Hedvund killed and turned into a vampire. Eziogeta, one of the secret leaders of said cult and present at the gala, tries to hinder the PC's investigation, but eventually his true colors are revealed. The PCs deal with Ezio and the undead Hedvund, and Cato thanks them for their support. He promises that under his stewardship of Isger, the people will be given a brighter future. However, Cato already breaks that promise the next day, as he puts all of Isger under martial law and starts to root out the Hellbreakers all over the nation. The heroes and their allies, now stuck in Elodier, need to find a way to leave the city, while also breaking out their allies from the terrible prison known as the Gyre. Making it out of Cato's clutches does not give the Hellbreakers much time to catch their breath. The undead are rising in the south of Isger, and it does not look like the Hell Knight commander will be sending his military against them. The heroes work overtime to both raise an army that can stand against Cato, while simultaneously investigating the source of the undead plague. The adventurers ultimately find out that the source of these undead is Ilkana Eleanor, the White Mother of Isger and leader of the cult of Urgathoa. She and her cult were behind the assassination of Hedvund VI, using the political turmoil as a distraction from the ritual she is attempting. Using the power of a war shard, Ilkana has already raised an army of the undead, and defeating her requires the full military might of the Hellbreakers and their allies. Destroying the White Mother saves Isger from a horrible fate, and allows the Hellbreakers to now focus on Cato and his army. The Hell Knight commander has not been idle, however. Cato has discerned the locations of Hellbreaker hideouts in Serengelo, and his forces have descended upon the city to imprison or kill any dissidents. The PCs can only barely escape, and need to pick up the pieces that are left of the Hellbreakers. To liberate Serengelo and their allies, the heroes need a new base of operations close to the city. The infamous Sereni Manor seems perfect, but is currently occupied by a diabolist hired by Cato. The heroes can kill two birds with one stone here. Infiltrate the manor and disrupt its operations from within to stop whatever this diabolist is planning, and immediately afterwards seize control of the estate for the Hellbreakers. This requires the party to gather information on guard rotations, possibly befriend local fae, and eventually dispose of the Chelaxian diabolist planning to perform infernal rituals in the manor's basement. Once Sereni Manor is taken by the Hellbreakers, the planning for the liberation of Serengelo, and perhaps all of Isger, begins. The finale of this tale has the heroes prepare for war and plan their fight against Cato and his troops. The Hell Knight commander has gathered a formidable army of his own, but the heroes have won the hearts of their allies and many Isgari inside the occupied city. After days of preparation, sabotage, and counter-espionage, the siege of Serengelo begins. Led by our heroes, the united Hellbreaker forces need to make it across the walls into the city to liberate fellow Hellbreakers and citizens, and ultimately, towards a showdown with Cato Voluunix himself. Whether they kill him or convince him to surrender, at the end of this arduous chain of battles, the heroes of the Hellbreakers have defeated the Chelaxian forces and set Isger on a path to liberation and independence. Hellbreakers is a campaign about fighting for liberation from an oppressive regime. If that's a theme you enjoy, you will find plenty of it in this book. What I like a lot about the first chapters of the campaign is that they are focused on actually building the resistance. The PCs first have to prove that they are able to contribute to the Hellbreakers, and then help find more allies all over Isger. Those early chapters also introduce a lot of fun and interesting NPCs, which return at later points in the campaign. Hellbreakers also features a vast variety of different challenges. Players will have to deal with tense negotiations, navigate their way through social encounters, and consider if they really want to fight an enemy or convince them to lay down their weapons. Many combat encounters are also written in a way that the enemies surrender when they are low on hit points, which is a nice break from campaigns in which every fight is to the death. In a story about convincing people to join a rebellion against a tyrannical infernal queen, I personally find it very fitting that the adventure allows you to spare your foes and show that the PCs are trying to solve things through other ways than just violence. One thing I don't particularly like about this AP is that there are a few scenes in which there aren't really consequences to failure or to the PCs making choices the adventure does not accommodate. Every pre-written campaign is railroady to a certain degree, but some bits in Hellbreakers make it feel extra on rails. Two specific examples are the PCs finding the goblin town of Thorngrip in Chapter 3 and robbing a manor in Chapter 6. In Chapter 3, the PCs travel through the Chitterwood and meet goblins from the hidden town of Thorngrip. The adventure assumes that the PCs will befriend these NPCs and follow them to their town. In case the PCs do not do that, the adventure offers an alternate scenario in which the PCs still stumble upon the town and can proceed the story as the adventure wants them to. In Chapter 7, the PCs rob a manor. If they fail their attempt, there are only minor consequences to it, and they can just try again the next day. I am personally not a fan of APs trying too hard to keep the PCs on track or offering challenges that do not really have any consequences. Fortunately, these moments are rare within the adventure, and you could write some actual consequences or changes to the plot if you want to. This AP also contains a lot of subsystems. Like many other more recent adventure paths, the writers love to structure scenes through the use of subsystems such as infiltrations and chases. The difference to other APs is that in Hellbreakers, there are sidebars providing a heads up to the GM of which subsystems to expect in a specific chapter. Still, if you're not a big fan of certain subsystems, you might want to skim through the adventure, identify the ones you do not like, and strip them out or replace them with something that works for you at your table. One final nitpick I have for this AP is the role of the Cult of Urgathoa and how its plot is treated. In Chapter 5, the PCs learn that Ilkena Alanor and her cult are planning to use the turmoil in Isger to conquer it and turn it into an undead tribute to her deity. It takes the PCs until Chapter 7 to deal with this threat, in which Ilkena is defeated at the end of the chapter and the danger of the cult eliminated. While the insertion of another faction trying to capitalize on the chaos in the nation sounds interesting, I feel like the Urgathoans are not given enough space within the AP's narrative to make them feel like a major threat. They are a reason for the Hellbreakers to not immediately deal with Cato and his gathering forces, which makes them to me feel more like filler. The Urgathoan plot is not bad. I just think it could have been given a little bit more space within the story this AP tells. Hellbreakers is a story about liberation and freedom, but also about the various people of Isger. If you want to run this campaign, read up on the history of the vassal state and understand the events that happened before the AP, such as the Goblin Blood War and the Battle of Hell Knight Hill. This AP includes chapters on Isger, Chitterwood, and the cities of Elodier and Sarangallo. As the AP takes place in Isger and is about the fate of this nation, it makes sense to have PCs with ties to Isger. While I don't think it's necessary, I would encourage players to create characters that are from there or have strong ties to the nation. Depending on your players' choices, this would allow you to tie their PCs to NPCs and locations in the AP. For example, if a player wants to play a goblin from the Chitterwood, they might be from Thorngrip. Ties like these also allow you to lead the PCs more organically to certain locations. As mentioned earlier, Hellbreakers uses a lot of subsystems. Fortunately, the book does a good job at calling out at the start of a chapter which subsystems will be used. The AP also features skirmishes. Make sure to advise your players to read up on the rules for them, as they will have their PCs make important tactical and strategic choices during these skirmishes. You as a GM already have a lot on your plate, and it really helps if everyone at the table has an understanding of how skirmishes work. Another kind of subsystem in this AP are reputation points. Reputation points measure how well known the Hellbreakers are and how much support they are getting from the Isgeri. Throughout the AP, NPCs will respond differently to the PCs based on the number of reputation points they have acquired, and certain campaign events are triggered once a specific reputation points threshold is met. Players should always know how many reputation points they have, so I would suggest tracking these points publicly. You could also ask one player to be the designated reputation points tracker, or share responsibility with the entire party. It is their reputation, after all, that they are keeping track of. And that's it for this overview of the Hellbreakers adventure path. I hope this helps all of you GMs out there deciding if you want to run this. If you have any questions, enthusiastic remarks, or your own opinions about this AP, sound off in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, take care, and bye-bye.